Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. I'm in the Tony Awards suite at Sofitel NYC, which is the official hotel of the 2019 Tony Awards, and I'm sitting with two of the creators of the hilarious and touching new musical, The Prom. Please welcome Matthew Sklar and Chad Beguelin. Thank you so much for sitting with me today here in the Tony suite.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Your show, The Prom, is one of the season's smartest, heartfelt, joyous musicals. I mean, what was it like working on this show for the both of you?
It's been a dream. I love everybody on the team.
Yeah.
I love our cast. It's been just kind of a wonderful project from the get-go. Jack Vertel originally came to us with the idea. He kind of had like a little pitch of this idea for a show and came to Casey Nicola, Chad, me, and Bob Martin, and we just took the ball and ran with it, and it's just been a joy from day one.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great, and it's also, we've been working together for over 25 years now, so it's been great to do this and work with all the people that we love.
Yeah.
So let's throw Bob Martin into the mix. So the
Bob
three of you,
Martin.
how did you all collaborate together? That had to have been like the best room to be in.
Oh, there's a lot of laughing. There's a lot of laughing.
Yeah, that's basically, how we work. Bob and I will sit and work on the book, and we'll just try to make each other laugh and try and one-up one another. So it's basically that. And one of our producers, we were at her office, and we were in the conference room, and it was like she just like kept knocking on the door going, "What is so funny?" And we're like, hopefully the script, Dorian. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I just get to watch them go back and forth and make each other laugh, and I'm laughing. It's just such a fun process.
This is such a beautiful score, too. It's a touching
thank
score.
you.
It's a hilarious score. I mean, there's so many different songs that you put into this show. What was the first song you wrote for the musical, and what was the last song you wrote?
The first song we wrote was You Happened, but it was
Okay.
kind of a different version of that song. It was really just a duet with Emma and Alyssa. But after Atlanta, we rewrote it. It was after Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be kind of a more full, to be a full company number and put a little more story in it, having the straight kids get to have their promposals out in public, and then having our girls have to do it in private. We thought that was stronger storytelling, so we did a rewrite of that song. But that was the first one we wrote.
And the last one?
I feel bad making you hold this.
No, you're a journalist now. Look,
I
you're a
know.
television journalist. I love
He's
this.
stealing from when you were in the show. He's doing you right now.
I
That's what's
had-
happening.
Great, by the way. Richie was fantastic in our show.
Thank you very much. I had the time of my life being in the Prom. I said I'm going to work my moments.
Oh, no, you had a whole backstory.
Well,
It
like,
was, yeah.
I watched and I said, the show opens. It's like this incredible group of like Broadway Muppets, and I said I'm at the top of the heap of the Muppets. So I was like, I'm going to go there and work my footage. So, back to
Yes.
the last number you wrote.
I think it was We Look to You. Yeah, we
Yeah.
had that character had changed so much. We originally out of town, the character of the principal was always mistaken for gay because he liked musical theater, and people in Indiana just assumed he was gay. So we had a song called "Gay for You" there. So I'm trying to think. It was like. I own your every album. I've seen your every show. You're turning Hello Dolly, had me at hello. I filled up all my scrapbooks with every last review. Well, if you think that's gay, I guess I'm gay for you. And so that was the song. And then it seemed like a cliche, and we were like, let's get away from that. So we just went for a really heartfelt, why this guy loves musical theater so much and what it means to him. So that was the last one.
Were there a lot of songs that left the show during the course of a period?
Oh, yes.
You had to put another album out, seriously.
We have a lot of cut songs from the show. It's an original show, not based on anything, so we had to find our way. So we had a whole first draft of the show that started completely differently, and everybody started their journey differently, and we just had to try it and then find what it was. And it took 8 years to figure it all out. But yes, we have many cut songs.
We have another song that was cut because Angie's character used to be the understudy for Elphaba. And so instead of singing Zaz, she's saying, you have to go on, because she never gets to go on for Elphaba, the old character. And there was a lyric about it's hell living up to Dina Menzel. And so, it was like a totally different character, so gone.
Always slightly green because she always put her makeup on anyway, which never really quite made sense, but we thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So
You have to do a Broadway Cares benefit with your Broadway cast doing the cut songs from the Prom.
we could.
Well, all the fans at Broadway World are already tweeting, and they're going to be like, where can we buy tickets to this already? You know, it's such an important show, and I love the way you tell the story of this show, because there's so much humor in this, then there's so much serious stuff, too. The Prom is a life-changing musical for a lot of audience members who finally see themselves up there, and maybe family members. I mean, what does it all mean to you to, like, see how your musical has touched people so?
It's been really emotional. I mean, we've seen all these kids at the stage door, some with their parents, some without their parents, and just telling their stories to our cast. And we've gotten messages on social media saying the same thing. Basically, thank you for writing the show. It's made me feel like I'm represented. It's thank you for celebrating us, not just representing us, but celebrating us. And that's been really moving for us to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could have never even imagined bringing a boyfriend to to the Prom, and so it's really touching when you see that final number and you see those same-sex kids burst into the Prom holding hands, and it just really it gets me every time because that just would have never happened, when I was young. Yeah. So it's great to see that the world has changed and that those kids get to go, there I am on a Broadway stage.
And as soon as that happens, the whole entire audience just flips out and stands up on their feet. And you have every type of audience comes to your show. I mean, it's such a wonderful audience.
It's been a really diverse audience, and it's played on different levels for different reasons to different people. But it seems to really be hitting people in an emotional way, and that's something that we didn't even know we were doing at first. We set out to write a comedy that was kind of a satire, but what we found along the way is that there's this emotional center to the show, and once we kind of leaned into that, it really felt like the pieces fell into place, and that seems to be really resonating with people.
I mean, creating for this incredible cast you have put together. You have the best of the best in your show. I mean, you could name them all. I mean, Beth Level and Brooks Ashmanskas and Christopher Sieber and Angie and all the new kids. I mean, the youngins. I mean, it must have been so great to finally create for all of them.
Yeah, when we were early on, in the writing process, we said who should play these parts, and we kind of just named, Beth, Brooks, and Chris right off the bat, and Elphaba was still in the mix back then. And then when we decided not to go that direction with that role, Casey, I'm not sure who it was. It might have been Casey, but said, what if it's a chorus girl who's been around the block? What if it's like Angie Schwarr? And we said, well, let's just get Angie. So we wrote the part and called her Angie.
But her last name is Dickinson, which very few people get. She goes.
In response, we think it's hilarious, but
when she goes to the hotel, she's like, I have rooms under Dickinson, and it's like no one gets it. But
crickets.
Crickets.
No, but I think they're called Easter eggs. That's what they're called, Easter eggs. So the diehard fans that totally get this stuff. Yes. Collaborations are so special. Like you said, you've been writing for 25 years. Was your first meeting at the Astor Riviera Cafe?
It sure was.
Okay.
On Astor Place and Lafayette Street, right near the Public Theater. Yeah. We were both at NYU. I had just music directed a production of Godspell, and a guy named Andrew Barrett, who was the literary manager of Musical Theater Works, came up to me afterwards and liked some of the arrangements I did and said, do you write musicals? I said, I would love to. I have nobody to write with. And he said, well, I think there's somebody you should meet. And
and Andrew had sent me a rejection letter. I had sent him a script, and so I was like, oh no, what can I do? So I wrote him back and I said, can I just take you out to lunch and pick your brain? And by then he had met Matt, and so he was like, I've got a guy you got to meet. So we shared onion rings, I think. Yeah, very healthy. It was a different time.
It was the 90s.
Onion rings are really good now too. If you go to a really good place.
Yes, it's now a Starbucks, but
of course it is. Of course it is.
Stephen Schwartz.
Yes.
What an inspiration. How has he inspired you two?
Well, in 1998, we wrote a show called The Rhythm Club. And we submitted it to the ASCAP Musical Theater Workshop. And we were accepted as one of 4 shows, I think, that were accepted. And we put it through the process at ASCAP. And Stephen was just this incredible mentor and teacher for us. And he has supported us every step of the way. And when we did that show at the Signature Theater in Arlington, he got on the train and came to see it and gave us notes. And he's always been such a great believer in our work. And we're just huge fans. He's our hero.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories about Stephen, we were doing The Wedding Singer, and it was our first Broadway show, and we were in tech, and just the pressure was crushing us.
It was a lot. And we were still making big changes,
Yeah.
on Broadway during previews. So there was a lot going on.
And so I had said, can we go out to lunch? Can we discuss this? And he got there, and we sat down, and I went, help me. And he's like, let's have some small talk. How is the family? How is the, I was like, just help. But it was great because he got us back on track and thinking like writers. And that's what you need. You need a mentor that can do that can ask the right questions to get you to write.
It has to have been a dream because every major composing team has been through that. Candor Neb, Jerry Herman, Cy Coleman, everybody was told,
In this business, mentorship is everything. It really means the world. So to have Steven, and I also was lucky because I got to be a rehearsal pianist for Maury Eston, so he's also been great as well. So to have those two guys in our corner has been really awesome.
So being on Broadway, it's got to be the greatest thing for you to grow up and dream. Because I know what it's like for me just to work in the business. I can only imagine what it's like for you guys to actually see your names on a marquee at a Broadway theater. You walk through a stage door. I mean, I have goosebumps just telling you this right now.
Yeah, it still gets me. I grew up in New Jersey. My parents were avid theater goers, so I would always watch people go in the stage door and said, "Oh God, I want to do that. I want to
go
do
through
that."
that door.
Yeah, I really want someone to let me inside that door. But I also remember just kind of feeling like it's Cinderella's castle at the Magic Kingdom. When you see it for the first time, you're like, oh my God, I still get that feeling when I'm on 44th and 45th Street, just looking at all those marquees lit up. I get the exact same feeling, those same butterflies, and that's why I'm just so grateful that we get to do this for a living.
Yeah, my favorite thing to do is to find a young kid after the show who really was into it and say, you want to go backstage? Because they just can't believe it. And they take the family back and we do pictures. And I've done that on every show because I feel like for me, that would have just blown my mind. So I'm like, oh, I can take 10 minutes and let's do it. Let's blow somebody's mind.
Because I love your backstage because you open that door and then you go down that ramp and you see the stage door at the end. You're like, I'm going
it's very
in.
dramatic.
Yeah, it's totally dramatic. Finally, if you could sum up the best part of the experience of working on The Prom, this most glorious musical, what is it for you two?
The response from the audience has been glorious.
Yeah, and and that, and on top of it, just getting to work with all these people that you love. We found our family, and it feels like this has been just a labor of love. And we're waiting. Like, wait, is somebody gonna have a hissy fit? Is there gonna be a diva? Is somebody gonna scream? It just never happened. It's such a
doing the work, and there was so much laughter and love in that room. It was really infectious, and it was really special.
Congratulations on all the success. I've known you two from a long time. I've seen you at the BCEFAs and playing in the pit and just smiling there and writing opening numbers and the same with you. And now look where you are.
Amazing thing.
It's crazy.
Very grateful.
So well deserved. Thank you for dropping by.
Of course, thank you.
It's the best.